This production is supported using public funding by Arts Council England. Welcome to another episode of the Bhandwagon Podcast, and today is a guest that when I wanted to do this with the podcast and have just kind of my own space to speak to individuals, it wasn't just about music and those kind of interests. It was those people who I kind of spot in my reading who should get the attention and the deserved attention out there that they may not necessarily get in even in my close circles. And especially when they're doing well, I was just saying quickly off air, kind of weird and wonderful stuff and that, but this isn't weird, this is just wonderful stuff. So without further ado, today I have the guest of Navjot Sawhney. He's the CEO of a UK grassroots organization who's becoming bigger and bigger into, I think, a global company. I'm hoping it's going to get into Amazon and an above equivalent. Doing brilliant work, and I won't give too much away because it's his story, and only he can do it justice, and not me. So welcome, Nav, to the Bhandwagon Podcast.
Thank you so much, Ricky. And it's so nice to be on here. Really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Nav, from the outset, I just want you to give kind of I want to jump a little bit ahead, really, and then kind of go through the backstory. So the main headline of kind of your publicity and the things that you do and when you've earned this recognition from is around the washing machine project. Just in your words, can you just explain for those people who don't who are listening or watching, what is that all about?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into how the washing machine project started, but the mission of the washing machine project is very simple. We design, we manufacture, and we distribute manual washing machines. So these are washing machines that don't require any electricity, saving time, water, and effort for over 60% of the world. That's 60% of the world that hand wash clothes. And the unfortunate burden of hand washing clothes is on women and girls. So we empower women and girls with time and for them to make a choice over what they want to do with their spare time.
I mean, that's absolutely incredible in terms of what you've done and what you've achieved. And I can't emphasize this enough for people to go onto the website, to go onto your social media platforms, your profiles, and actually look into this a little bit deeper because it's unbelievable what you're doing. I just want to congratulate you from yourself and your team because it's not. I know you're spearheading it, but you've got a team who are able-willed in order to get this out there. And it's one thing to actually conceptualize an idea, but then there's another thing in terms of executing it, and you've married them both together brilliantly.
Yeah, and you're right. You hit the nail on there, Ricky. I think this is a team effort, and there's 17 people now working at the washing machine project all around the world, and some really exciting plans in the future. But what we're achieving is it gives you goosebumps. It makes me excited every morning to wake up and make impact, and I'm just so lucky and so humbled that the washing machine project came into my life in one way, shape, or form, and I'm so lucky to have a team around me that can drive this mission forward.
Your so your background came from from an engineering background within there, which also your sorry, aerospace. So that was where your dad had a keen interest in probably, I'm gonna guess, probably both of those fields in some way to have a bit of a influence on you. What was your what how did you get into this? What was your kind of your early steps in terms of the DNA to get to this point?
Yeah, I think if you look at our background as South Asian people, Punjabi, Sikh family, you have to rewind all the way back to the partition. My family were from Rawalpindi. My dad and his siblings came over to Mumbai during the partition, and then on to London to study. And my mum went to London from Mumbai in the 80s. They had three kids. I was the youngest of the three, and my dad was an aerospace engineer. And this the stories from the partition and that sense of loss has always been ingrained into us, and the displacement of people has always been a storyline and an undercurrent throughout my whole life. So that's why when you see mass displacement or refugees running away from conflict, it really hits home to me, because those were our families, over 70 years ago. Um, as I mentioned, my dad studied engineering, and he was an aerospace engineer, and he took me to air shows when I was a kid. I was fascinated with how these big aircrafts would go into the sky. I would come back home. I would take the toolbox out of the cupboard, and I'd break everything in the room. I would not know how to put things back together again, but I just wanted to see how things looked inside. So from VHS cassette tapes to TV screens to the remote to fridges, I used to break everything, and I used to really make my mum very angry and piss her off a bit. But
Yeah, I don't think you would have
uh,
been. I don't think you would have been fun around during Christmas, would you? You'd be taking
no,
all
exactly,
your
exactly,
siblings' presents apart.
exactly. Yeah, my two sisters, for example, and my father unfortunately passed away when I was 8 years old, and I was left with my mum and my two sisters to raise me single-handedly. All of our family, extended family, were back in India at the time, so it was just me and my mum, my sisters, uh, navigating life, and I witnessed firsthand how hard it was, not only for a woman, but a South Asian woman, to make it in this world alone, and with my two sisters, and the struggles and strife that these ladies had to go through to just get by. And these three themes, the displacement, the engineering, and the women empowerment, have always followed me throughout my journey in life. And so when I had the choice to pick whatever subject that I'd go to university with, I picked engineering. I was curious, and I loved fixing things and understanding problems. And I graduated and joined one of the world's best graduate programs. And I found myself at this amazing appliance manufacturer that make those really expensive vacuum cleaners. And uh, I um I was just really fed up of making vacuum cleaners for rich people, and I was there for 3 years, and I decided to quit my job. And you can imagine, Ricky, going to your mum when you're a kid, well-paid job, and saying that you're not happy and you want to go work for free somewhere else. You know how that conversation would have gone down in your
I don't think
family.
it would have gone down too great. I
Yeah.
think you'd have. Is it one of those conversations where you have to just kind of pick your moment, or do you just walk in and sit your mum down and say, "Right, I've got something to tell you"?
Yeah, I think it was a slow burner, but people didn't take me seriously. And then I just ripped the plaster off one evening, and you just didn't want to be in any vicinity of the Sawhney household during that time. But I think the fact of the matter is I wasn't happy, and I had this skill and ability to make impact with the skill that I had, which was engineering. I could create solutions and understand problems, and I wanted to be on the side of helping people. I didn't want to hinder people. I didn't want to. I have the skills to support people if I could, and help the planet. And I knew what I wanted to do, and it wasn't in the current role that I was in. So I decided to quit my job. I went to go work for free in South India to make cook stoves. These are called chulas for people who use wood to cook their food. It's about 50% of the world's population who cook with wood and charcoal and dung. And that's where I was in this village, and I met my next door neighbor, the lady that changed my life. Her name was Divya, and to be frank, her life was an everyday struggle, whether it was foraging for wood to cook her food, standing in line for water, or hand washing her and her family's clothes. She wanted to work, but she just didn't have the time. Uh, because she spent all of this time on unpaid labor. From the moment she woke up to the moment she slept, she was just doing something. And that's when I said to her, I'll buy you an electric washing machine. And she said, "Don't be stupid. I don't have a generator. Uh, there's blackouts every single day, and I don't have enough water. There's only water running for 15 minutes. Electric washing machine wouldn't work." And I said, "Okay, I'll make you one. I'll make you a manual washing machine." And that was a promise that was set in a village in South India in 2017. And you know, I still get chills down my spine recalling that story, because I didn't know it would lead to this. I just wanted to make a machine for my next door neighbor.
How is she?
So fast forward, 7 years now. I met her after a long time this year in April, and I was lucky enough to take back some of my friends that I've made along the way. And I took one of the machines that we created. We call our machines Divya washing machines, and I gifted a Divya to Divya, and it was a very emotional moment. It was so emotional. This is someone that's changed my life for the last 7 years, and so many people's lives along the way. And when I gave the machine, we had this really beautiful moment together with all of our families and friends around us, and we were packing up and leaving, and she said, "Nav, um, uh, this is great, but there are so many millions of people like me around the world, so many millions of women like me. Go find them, because they need this more than we do now." And that was when I last saw her back in April.
That sounds amazing. I was good. I was just gonna. I didn't know whether to time it right. Imagine if she turned around. Can you make me a Hoover and a
Yeah.
tumble dryer as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very valid point. Every time we travel, every time we go to somewhere around the world, whether it's a refugee camp or an orphanage or a low-income area or a homeless area, there's so many issues. It's just not enough time in the day, Ricky.
How do you keep yourself in a? Actually, I'm gonna ask a different question. I'll come. I'll come back to this one. How much pressure did you feel, or did you feel of kind of knowing that your dad went down that road in terms of engineering and aerospace, and you following those footsteps? Was it a burden, pressure, or was it something that you thrived on to kind of excel on, or was it? Did you feel another energy just driving you moving forward?
Do you know what? More of a pressure that I felt was actually quitting my job and doing something different, and doing something that wasn't the status quo. I felt more pressure about that, more sleepless nights, uh, more change in my being than pursuing engineering, because everyone in our culture does engineering, so it felt like a normal thing. And I was lucky enough to be raised by some amazing women, in my sisters and my mum, who are just like incredible people. And I was so proud that my mum is now one of our biggest supporters, even though she didn't back my decision to quit my job way back when.
So how does the Divya washing machine is it still classed as a machine if it's kind of done like done kind of manually?
Ha- Hand cranked washing machine. Yeah, I mean, uh, oh, this is way too much detail for a
No, no.
podcast, but
So
but
give us the kind of abridged version in terms of what
yeah,
kind of separates
yeah,
itself from either. Is there any other equivalents on the market, or how does it
yeah,
how does it
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of operate?
Yeah, I mean, so the washing machine that we've developed is called the Divya washing machine. It's the world's first flat packable washing machine. So you can put it together with two tools. So it comes completely flat. Imagine your favorite flat pack furniture company and putting it together at home. And that's what we've created. It's a large drum for large families, so about 5 kgs or 25 pieces of clothes, and only 3 buckets of water. So about 30 liters of water. So what that means is it's a water reduction of about 50% of water, and time reduction of 75%. And it looks and feels and acts like an electric washing machine, but you just power it with your hand. And there's a flap at the top, and you put your clothes inside. There's a tap at the bottom, and you take your dirty water out. So for those that don't have electricity, you can just power it with your hand. But I think that's the abridged version. It's so complicated. I would urge all your listeners and anyone watching this to go have a look at it online.
How long was the process then? I know you said kind of the 7 years from when you met Divya herself,
Yeah,
from when you came back or when you conceptualized it and said, right, this is what it's going to do. How does that process work in terms of kind of testing?
yeah.
Do you still have like the first prototype?
Yeah. We do all of our R&D in Bristol, so we have a really nice space there, and we have this area called the museum with all of our prototypes. I mean, basically, what I did when I went back is I went back to the UK. I gathered around a few friends of mine, equally as frustrated in their jobs, and wanted to make impact. And we were just ideating or brainstorming around my mum's kitchen table, and there was a salad spinner in the corner of the room, and there was this kind of light bulb moment where maybe we could just use a salad spinner and start with that. And we took it down from the shelf and started putting our socks in it and tea towels and washing
Did you take
these.
it apart? You took it
e-
apart, didn't
exactly.
you?
Yeah, and that was the first ideas of what Divya could look like, and we started prototyping. And I uh, I went back to university and did my master's in humanitarianism, and a guy on my course who was a very uh, nice guy from Iraq said, "Why don't you come to Iraq and test one of your machines?" And naively, me and my friend Alex at the time, we just prototyped this machine over the weekend, and we packed up all of our clothes, um, and we wrapped it up in plastic, took it on on this plane to Iraq. It looked really dodgy. Um, but we tested with 79 Yazidi families in 5 refugee camps across 5 days, and that report is still on our website. And that report was seen by Oxfam, and they funded the next 100 machines. So it's amazing how opportunities led to more opportunities, led to where we are today.
Do you get some of you just mentioned Oxfam. Do you get some of the established, well-known brands that people might have in their homes? Have they all had a look at your projects or willing to support it? Because I can't see how this would not be a no-brainer for them to kind of
Yeah.
jump in and help this out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're really proud to say that Whirlpool, which is an appliance manufacturer, they've now funded the washing machine project. Whirlpool Foundation, supporting the development and deployment of 10,000 machines all around the world. So that's one organization that's supporting us, and JLR, the automotive company, are also supporting us as well. So it's really cool. And with Whirlpool's expertise and experience, with over 100 years, we're now able to build on whatever we've had, scale it, and really just do what we're good at, is just making really good positive impact in the world.
Oh my God, I'm just trying to work out, when you're going to get your knighthood on this bit. Um,
No, I don't,
Just
it's not about it's not about
how do you
recognition.
keep that
It's
in check? How do you keep like that? Um, two questions to this, two parts. How do you keep yourself? I'm just trying to think it from um kind of an experience that I went through. Um, and are quite open. I have been a little bit open about it and a little bit not. I was involved in substance misuse work and helping people to break the cycle of alcohol and drugs and things like this. And it used to take a real, when I was younger, I used to have a lot more drive in terms of and more emotional resilience. And then I'd say at one stage I just got completely burnt out because you're just surrounded by negative
mm,
stories. It can get quite depressing and I know I'm mainly kind of overwhelming as well. And
yeah.
when you were going into various war-torn countries where there's refugees, there's personal trauma that you, as a family, that you've gone through, and then you're
Hmm.
seeing the trauma kind of repeated itself in cycles. How did you, how do you personally combat that and keep yourself in a more kind of in an emotional stability when you're
Mm.
seeing the constant like, it can be quite overwhelming. How do you operate in that environment?
Yeah, it's a constant process. It's an evolving aspect of my life, and I'm really lucky that I get to wake up every single day and work in an organization that's impact focused and impact driven. Uh, and in my travels all around the world, I mean, 9 times out of 10, the people that I meet are happy people. They're not sad people. They are proud people, and they don't want sympathy. They want empathy and they want opportunity. And I think that's a real, once you understand that, you it's a circumstance that they're in, and hopefully it's temporary. And hopefully we can all do whatever we can to help them along the way. Because one day, God forbid, when our time comes, we hope that someone else will help us. And I think with that mindset, the world will be a better place. And there's so many great organizations doing good things. The world is full of really, really good people. It's just that the 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 people that are good doing good things are not getting to us in the right channels.
Well, you're making me feel better now. Yeah, okay, I can see how that kind of rubs off. It is a kind of hidden aspect of where people are trying to trailblaze.
Mm,
And then we stand on the shoulder of giants. The next people who
mm,
want to take up the mantle and help in can see
mm,
it could kind of drive that forward. But
yeah,
sometimes it does come at a cost, whether it's yourself, your family, your environment
yeah, yeah, yeah,
within there, or
yeah,
from a monetary value point of view. I mean, you're quite fortunate in that way that you've got these a lot of organizations that are trying to come forward. How do you stop yourself being, I don't know, being exploited in one way? Because like it's a very positive thing that you're doing from it, and a loads of people would want to try and attach themselves to
yeah.
something like that. How do you kind of keep that at bay?
Yeah, and just in general, on a personal level, my family keep me so grounded and so humble. Honestly, to be really transparent, they really just couldn't care less with what I'm doing. Uh, they care about my happiness and health. Yes, they're the biggest supporters of the washing machine project, but you know, at the end of the day, when I was being interviewed on the BBC, they were more happy of my nephew saying his first words than caring about what I did on a BBC channel somewhere on the TV. And I love that. I love the fact that, I could be having lunch with the Prime Minister, but they'll care about what Kian ate for lunch, and I think that's really humbling feeling and very grounding as well. And in terms of like who 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 works with us and who supports us, man, I'm so humbled and so inspired by people contacting us every single day on and thinking of ways to support us. That is amazing, and we'll never take that for granted. Um, but I think um, there's ways that we can do it and there's ways that we shouldn't do it, and I think it's my responsibility as well as my team's responsibility to make sure we're doing the right thing for the organization at the point in time that we have and for the future. So building sustainable partnerships that are purpose led and that will help us, what we say is move the needle in terms of aspects of this problem, where over 5 billion people in the world today are going to get on their hands and knees and scrub a piece of cloth for up to 2 hours. And I think in this day and age, that is disgusting. And there's so many issues like that as a society we have failed. We have failed people, and I know what I want to do, and this is my mission. This is our cause.
From that kind of global vision, it's very unique. We can all get involved in our day-to-day life and have that kind of tunnel vision. It's clear that you've got that tunnel vision focus in terms of developing a product, what you've got from there, but then having that global vision
Mm.
around it. From the Divya washing machine as it is now, is that something that's continually getting tweaked, or is it in its kind of final kind of fate,
Uh,
the end stage of that?
Yeah, I mean, think of I don't have I'm an Android person, but I don't have an iPhone. But think of the iPhone. What are we? iPhone 15 now? 16?
16 supposed to be
Yeah,
coming out in a few weeks, allegedly.
so exactly. So so I mean it's never gonna stop and it will always evolve. Consumer trends will evolve. The way that we use appliances in rural areas will evolve, and so will we. So, in the future you might have a solar washing machine, a semi-automatic washing machine that's powered. But yeah, right now we're fully focused on what we have,
And how much
which
does
is
one of these cost? Like, if somebody wanted to buy it and donate it, how much would it?
yeah. So it's free for the end user, and if anyone wants to contribute, they can through our charitable foundation, the TWP Foundation. But yeah, there's the material cost and then the distribution cost as well. So a few £100 we say, depending on where you're distributing in the world.
And what other have you started to kind of gaze your eyes at other areas in terms of other products what you'd want to make?
Yeah, I think you know uh, there's going to be 1 billion people in the world today that are going to go hungry, and that's for many things, many reasons why. But not one of those reasons is refrigeration, for example. Um, so, uh, uh, how can we help support that? We have an amazing team of 7 engineers that are equally as ambitious and constantly on the lookout for new products. So I think in 20 years' time we'll laugh at this, and I'm sure the Bandwagon podcast is going to still be going.
I don't know
So
about that. Okay, I'm already grey. I can't get much grey than this.
I'm getting the same. My mum says you need to
Yeah, but
stop
yours is
making washing
deserved.
machine. Yeah. Um. So yeah, we'll be laughing at the time that we just made washing machines.
And then when you look at the sort of jumps in technology and the way that how you've gone from your first kind of concept to where you are now, and you just talked a little bit around about access, um how difficult is it then when you're going into
Uh,
a refugee camp, or you've been there, to kind of bring your goods within it now?
yeah, I mean, when I started the washing machine project, naively I said for everyone everywhere, and we still try and meet that mission and vision. And just this week, a couple of my team are out in the Republic of Congo, which is in the region of Central Africa, and they're distributing machines with the UNHCR, and they fly in, and then they have to take a 3-day car journey, with which includes a boat, to the most rural areas in Republic of Congo, let alone Central Africa and the whole region. So, you know, I cannot express to you how hard it is to get to some of these places. And that's why it's so important to work with people like organizations like the UNHCR and Oxfam and Care International that have local people on the ground. They speak the language, they have the trust of the people, they understand the needs. And it's a huge shout out to some of our on the ground partners that do the last mile distribution and most importantly the monitoring and evaluation, which really measures the impact. Whether people using the machine, how much time do they save, and what are they importantly doing with that time.
What's been some of the early feedback that you got from kind of from the end user?
Yeah, there's a few, the many impact stories. Our website has a lot of them. We've impacted over 30,000 lives now, in 13 countries, which is phenomenal. And one that comes to mind, which is really lovely. It's a lady called Anjali, who actually is in the village where Divya was, and she's a tea shop owner. She runs a tea stand, and she works 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and she doesn't have enough water at home, so she has to go to the local pond to hand wash her clothes in what is 35 to 40-degree heat, and she does that for 2 hours a day at 5 in the morning, and she will do that for 6 days a week, 2 hours a day in 35-degree heat, come back, 12-hour workday, and we distributed a machine to her in November last year, and it's been 10 months now, and she no longer goes to the pond because she has enough water at home to hand wash her clothes. She washes her clothes with the machine and serves customers at the same time, and she's now resting more, which is a really tangible example of what it means for someone like Anjali.
It- It's it's speechless, really, isn't it? Because you've got so much things as a currency in it of value, which is time,
Mm,
water, the ecosystem. There's just so many different metrics that what you're
yeah.
contributing in with such a beautiful project within it. It's I kind of I mean, you must look at the world news when you come in and just sorry, like, and see some of the problems that are happening out there, and you must be shaking your head, going like, what are people complaining about? They don't have never
Mm.
seen hardship with compared to what you're experiencing with your lives, and how much things you're able to change people's lives with your product.
Yeah, I mean, I think hardship is relative, right? Everyone goes through struggles, and I think people ask me all the time, what can I do? And impact can be local as well. Uh, everyone that's listening or watching this podcast will walk past someone that's homeless within the next month, and most people will ignore them. And I think that's really tragic. I think in a country like the UK or the US or Europe, a region like Europe, where we have the means to support these people. There's causes that people can back and that people can support with at home, local. And I think struggle is relative and hardship is relative, and you know, rather than looking at it through a judgment lens, I think if we were a bit more empathetic with each other, then the world would be a better place. And I'm really proud that the washing machine project is now washing homeless people's clothes closer to home. Yeah, it's just really exciting to see how we can make impact, in places that that people that follow us recognize.
Got my last few questions, to be honest. In terms of how do you kind of switch off yourself? How do you kind of unwind and kind of give yourself a break?
Yeah, I think a really funny story is I was surprised on ITV with Anton Deck a few months ago and the prize was a holiday, and I was like, oh man, I just don't want to go on another plane, you know, and I'm trying to find ways of like donating this prize or trying to bring it back to the washing machine project in one way, shape, or form. So if someone can introduce me to uh you know,
Now,
ITV.
I will take it as a personal responsibility just to, you know,
Yeah,
go
exactly.
on
No,
that whole day and share the
uh,
experience.
yeah, and yeah, thanks, man. I just clocked what you're saying. That's funny. That's hilarious. Um, um, no. So what do I do in my spare time? I think, like I'm a really boring person. I really just love spending time with my family and my friends and just consuming their love and attention and being with them. And I never get to spend as much time as I should do in the UK and in London. And so if I'm ever in London, all my spare time is with my friends and my family in one way, shape, or form.
All right, I'm gonna bring it to a close on this now because it's like with with the podcast, I have a section at the end where I ask people, is there a bandwagon they like to jump on, jump off, or is there anything that they want to get off their chest? This is the space to do so. So, is there anything that you'd want to get off your chest at this point? It could be random as hell. It could be anything.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, is there anything I want to get off my chest? I have a list here actually that things that frustrate me in the world.
Let's go for it. Come on then, let's go for it. You've actually got a list. I like it. You have already won as the most organized
Organized.
kind of person for this kind of section already.
Yeah, I have a list that wouldn't it be nice to pay a compliment to one person every single day and just make them smile? And can you imagine if every single person just lived that way? How much happiness would there be in the world? And I think we're so focused on our own lives. Just getting to this podcast right now, I was just running
Mm.
from the office to home to record this. I didn't even clock how many people I bumped into to get here. And I think, stopping and just saying, smiling and saying have a good day. I'd love it if more people did that. That's what I'll get off my chest. That might be boring, but
No,
uh, I
it's
hope it has some
I like
impact.
that. It's like in terms of empowering an individual, there's gratitude within there, there's love within there.
Yeah.
I think I need to kind of book you as like just being with me, like the yin and yang. I just because I'm sometimes so miserable and just moan, but like
Yeah. Life
you're
is
just
stressful. It must be really hard. Yeah.
it's annoying. It consumes you so much. That's within there. Where
Yeah, I think I was having a conversation with one of my entrepreneur friends, and we always talk about, oh, back in the day, you never used to be this. It never used to be this bad.
Mm.
And the way he was explaining it to me was, this is the information age. We're getting information in real time, and that's why it's really screwing with our minds. So like just like put the phone down or just close the laptop and just experience each other in the present moment, and that's probably what you need a bit more, right?
Yeah, living in the moment. I think living in the moment is. I think a lot of people's anxieties are for situations that not necessarily happen. I kind of um. It was kind of summarized by a film. Are you into your films?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched the film called Ronin, the one with Robert De Niro in there?
No, I haven't. No,
So
no.
Ronin's obviously a reference to kind of last
Yeah.
the samurais and stuff and that in there. But he um he talked and I thought it was a cool thing to do when I was younger. I don't know whether I'm gonna get the piss taken out of me for this, but
Probably are. Yeah.
whenever he used to go to any situation, he always used to look for the exit. Or so if he's in a room, always looks at what's the exit if he used to go into main place. And I used to think on those similar ways because I was a natural worrier. I used to just worry
Mm,
about going into situations, running scenarios in my head. If this said this, blah blah blah, and I lost the moment. So when a situation happened, it'd be like, oh, thank God that never happened, rather than experiencing it where it was at. And it's only
Mm-hmm.
taken me now where I've kind of got into a space now where I'm moving away from that. But even like, a conversation with yourself, like I'm learning much from you in terms of when you're dealing with things or solution
Yeah.
focused, because you truly are a solution focused, almost a
Mm,
therapist.
mm.
And how
Yeah.
you doing it?
I'd also say that a lot of what I believe in is focusing on the problem, because the solution will always change, but the problem will always be there. The problem of hand washing clothes is always going to be there, but the way that we solve that is going to change. So focus on the problem is where I would put everything, just like tunnel vision onto that problem, and I think the uh I get this a lot where people are like, "Oh, when are you gonna move on to your next thing?" or "What are you doing next?" And in my entrepreneurship friends, the ones that raise lots of capital and then exit the business to do another thing, I'm like, isn't that like I want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm not exiting. This is my mission and my vision, and I want to execute this till till the washing machine project is delivering machines in every country in the world. And I just can't see the exit out of that right now.
Is that
And
greed of ambition? Or is it
yeah,
greed of
I think
ambition for them and and sorry, not greed, but contentment of what you're doing?
I think it's content. I think, it's I've fallen in love with the problem. I think it is uh despicable that someone like Divya has to wake up every single morning, go get water um, in a place that's not near her home, come back, get blisters on her hands, and scrub each piece of cloth while I launder my clothes um, uh, in an expensive dry cleaner if I wanted to. I think I don't want to live in a society like that, and I want to work towards a more equitable society where at least people have the access to an alternative.
The
And
option.
I want to, yeah, have the option, and I want to inspire other people to do the same. And as an engineer, I have the responsibility to either help or hinder the planet. And I have many friends that create solutions that hinder the planet, and I would love to inspire the next generation of people to help the planet.
I really hope that people are listening today, especially people from our generation and who've got kids as well or nephew, nieces, um, really take inspiration from this and actually have the light bulb moments to kind of pick through and in a world and environment where you're looking at successes and reality on Instagram and having that kind of life and seeing money and flash. Here's something that you can actually see a real contentment and meaning in a project that you're doing, and the true value of humanitarianism and the true value of integrating and being inclusive with the world and seeing things not just as a world on your doorstep, but truly worldwide. Now I really thank you for taking the time out
Thank
today. I
you.
know you're extremely busy. And I really appreciate you doing this. I'll put all the details on the episode of for people to get involved. If there's anything from the podcast can do to help you on your next projects, please do.
Yeah,
And be kind of a for a lifelong supporter of this project. I think it's absolutely amazing. And I think it's a mission for anyone who's listening to it to at least tell one other person about this project
yeah, that'll be
and
cool.
spread the word of this, because this is true, from a faith point of view. This is a true seva. This is actually a kind of a core inspiration of that. But it doesn't matter about your faith within this. Is just
Mm.
a humanitarian, a humanistic sort of point that we should be doing.
Thank you so much, Ricky. It was a
Cheers now.
pleasure.
All the best.